Title 16 Civil Rights Act. None of those particular people that's involved with this program can discriminate based on those things that we just identified. I don't care whether you're the federal government, state government, county government, city government, a church, or some other entity that's dispensing food. You cannot discriminate, okay? And all of us have to sign legal statements saying that we won't do that. Because if you do, you can be sued. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Public notification. All FNS assistance program must include a public notification system to inform applicant, participant, particularly every person of program availability, program rights and responsibility, the policy of non-discrimination, the procedure for filing a complaint. Now, let me define FNS because I don't know how I missed that one. FNS is Food and Nutrition Service. That's what the FNS stands for. Food and Nutrition Service. Basically the Foodbank program. That's what it is, okay? Mm-hmm. And so what they're saying is that everybody that's eligible, that's in the public, we have to make the program available to them. We got to tell them what their rights and not just their right, but their responsibilities are. Because they have certain responsibilities. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we have to explain to them the policy of non-discrimination, that they have the right not to be discriminated against. Okay, we got that posted up, in this room. And the procedure for filing a complaint. And if they are discriminated against, we have to show them how they can file a complaint. You understand what I'm saying? How they can file a complaint. Public notification. State agencies and their sub-recipients are like us. Okay, we got the food bank, and we're a recipient, or we get food from the food bank. So we are sub-recipients, okay, from the food bank. Okay, notify person with disabilities about the availability of reasonable modification and auxiliary aids and services. Notify person with limited English proficiency, or those people that's English as a second language, of their right to free language system services. What this means is this: like we have a wheelchair ramp. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if somebody got a disability because they can't walk in a wheelchair, we provide access to our program and to our service because we got a wheelchair ramp. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We might have a program, we do have people on our program probably that can't see or can't hear. Okay? Well, it's a number that's in this package that we can give them that they can call, and they can have people like a person that can't hear, this phone system where they can actually call a number, okay, and through that number they can get someone to help them, okay, communicate, with our program, help us communicate with them. Just because the person is blind, can't hear, we can't discriminate with them because of that disability. We still got to provide them whatever services we need to provide to them so that they'll have access to this program just like everybody else that got access to the program. Y'all understand? Mm-hmm. Okay. Non-discriminating statement. That's just a statement. You can read that in your own time. That's the whole statement, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that you can't discriminate because this is a federal program. Okay. Non-discriminating statement. A minimum, the full non-discriminating statement must be on. That non-discriminating statement that right there from the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. It must be on all of our applications. That application for food that everybody has signed and registered is on that application, okay? Mm-hmm. Notification of eligibility and ineligibility. Tell them who qualify for the food and who don't qualify for the food, okay? Mm-hmm. Notification of adverse action. Program, home, well paid. Those are just pages that you can access all this information. Public information, including program literature. And on this non-discriminating statement, they got links to all of these that could tell you exactly what the program's about. The adverse action of a program, all the public information is on that website, including all the literature that you need to know about this program is on that website. Okay. Non-discrimination statement, short version. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Only can be used in special search translation, other languages are available. That's still talking about the website, what the website supply, if you need some information about the program. And Justice for All poster. I thought we have this one up, Connie.
Mm-hmm. Just knock it down right there.
We need to get that back up. Okay. Display that poster in Justice for All. Basically, it covers, about Title 16, non-discrimination. Okay. So when people come into this office right here, and they sit around, they getting registered or whatnot, they can read that information, they can see it and know what rights they have, okay? Not to be discriminated against. Race, ethnicity, data collection, purpose, to determine how effective, uh, uh, basically food programs are reaching potentially eligible person and beneficiaries. To monitor civil rights compliance, state agencies must establish a system for the collection of race and ethnicity data for each person applying for and participating in the food program. What that means is that on that registration form, you know, just like a job application, you're gonna have age, your age on there, you're gonna have your race on there, you're gonna have all these identifying factors on that application so that, and once that registration come in, it get put in a computer, okay? It get put, like everybody that we get registered with the food service program, it gets put into not just the food bank program, it get put in the state program, it get put in the federal program, okay? So those people will have an idea of everybody in every community. You know how many blacks, how many Hispanics, how many Asians, or what's in that community. They can have an idea of what the age groups is in there, how many people is in that community in that area is disabled. Okay, so we need to collect all that information. That's what this is saying. Okay, that's data collection. Race, ethnic categories, two question format, and they just talk about the different races. Page 21. Complaints of discrimination. Complaints, when a person wants to complain about discrimination. Accept all complaints and forward to the USDA. If we ever get a complaint about discrimination, we got to take it and we got to send it up the chain. Okay? Complaints should be filed within 180 days from alleged discrimination. The person can't wait 5 years, 10 years, and then somebody will discriminate again. Complaints may be written, verbal, or anonymous. They can call us on the phone. They ain't got to tell us who it is, but they can just say, well, we know that in your area that you discriminate against this group of people. We need to investigate that as a church, okay, to see whether or not that's true. It could be verbal. They don't have to write it down. So some people can't write. They may tell you that they've been discriminated against. If they've been discriminated against, they tell you they can't write, they can't, then we need to help them, get it written up. Or it could be unwritten, or they could write it, and there's a form that they can write on that I'm gonna show you. Develop complaints form, optional, but the use of such form cannot be prerequisite for acceptance. Yeah, we got forms that they can use, but if they just can write it on a piece of paper, it ain't got to be no legal document for them to write it for it to be official. It could just be any kind of piece of paper, a cardboard, okay, anything. If they want to complain, we have to take it and we have to send it up the chain. Maintain a separate civil rights complaint log. So when we get a complaint, we need to log it, here at our ministry as we send it up. Keep complaints confident and accessible only to authorized personnel. And when people complain, it's so important that we listen. We got to be a professional organization, okay? If a person complains about something that we're doing that's wrong, we don't need to be out there talking to everybody about it. Well, such and such, sister and sister, we giving her food and she complained about it. We can't do that. If they got a legitimate complaint, okay, we need to keep it within our ministry. We need to keep it within those of us that's actually running and operating this ministry. We don't need to tell the other church member, because if you tell it, I'm telling you, it's going to get back to them. And if you get back to them, that's when you cause problem, that's when you cause trouble. Okay? So if somebody complains about something that we're doing, discriminate against them, we don't need to be shouting on the rooftop. We need to keep it among ourselves, those that need access to it, only those that need access to it. Everybody that's helping us don't need access to it. Only the ones that need access to it, okay? That's important. Complaints of discrimination. And if they do set it in and written on a piece of paper or something, they need to have their name, address, phone numbers, and what they complain about, and the location of the organization they complain about, and the nature of the incident, what happened, okay? The name, title, and business address of persons who may have knowledge of discrimination. That's like witnesses, people that know about it, okay? The dates during which the alleged discrimination action occurred, okay? When did it happen? The basis for the alleged discrimination. Why do you feel like you've been discriminated against? They need to, write those answers down, all right? Complaints of discrimination, those are just different versions that they're just websites that you can log on to. Limited English profession, I just explained that to you all. Limited English profession, LEP, program assistant. Who are the person with LEP? Individuals who do not speak English as their primary language, who may have limited ability, okay, to read, speak, write, or understand English because of their national origin, okay? Those are people that's really not American. They're from other countries, but they live here now. They may be citizens, they may not be citizens. okay? Well, those are the people they refer to when they said LEP. LEP requirement, that's just a requirement of the Title 16, the Civil Rights Act. You gotta protect those people too, because of national origin. Because of national origin. You can't discriminate them because they can't speak English clearly and plainly. Okay, you got to get them whatever language they speak. You got to call the food bank, and they can call the federal government. They need to get, if they want brochures or whatnot in their own language, we need to get it for them and get it to them. Y'all understand what I'm saying? LEP and program access, providing reasonable, timely, and appropriate and competent language service at no cost to individuals with these LEP. We don't need to charge them for it. If we got a pamphlet that the food bank has given us that's not in their language, we need to contact the food bank to tell them that we have a Mexican and we don't have any Mexican, that's written in Spanish. And they need to get us those copies so we can get it to that section of our population. He said, failure to provide meaningful access to persons of LEP could be discrimination on the basis of national origin. Because we don't do that for them, it's a form of discrimination. LEP and program access. States must conduct assessments to determine the language profile for their state, taking into account regional differences and updating as appropriate. Translation of vital documents is required. Notification of free interpreter service, we talked about that, is required. Staff training regarding how to provide LEP of people with limited English professional population with meaningful access is paramount. Frontline staff talking about us, okay? And that's why when we fill out those applications, they ask you what race, nationality you are, okay? So they can determine, if, like I said, if we had a large section of Hispanic in our community, then they will know that they need to send us Spanish, when they send pamphlets, they need to send in Spanish too. But they're not gonna know that until we give them that information, all right? LEP and program access, and that's just basically talking about the same thing, okay? 29 talking about the same thing, okay. Disability access, we talked about this earlier. What is number 30, page 30? What is the definition of disability? A person who has a physical or mental impairment, which substantially limits one or more major life activities, has a record of such an impairment, or is regarded as having an impairment. Major life activity means functions such as caring for oneself, performing manual tasks, walking, seeing, hearing, speaking, breathing, learning, and working. Function of the immune system, normal cell growth, digestive, bowel, bladder, neurological, brain, respiratory, circulatory, cardiovascular, endocrine, and reproductive function. Those are different types of disability, okay, that can affect the body, that can qualify a person to be disabled. You understand what I'm saying? Disability access, reasonable modification. A public entity shall make reasonable modification in policies, practice, or procedure when the modifications are necessary to avoid discrimination on the basis of disability, unless the public entity, like we're a public entity, can demonstrate that making the modification would fundamentally alter the nature of the service, program, or activity. Let's just say this was a 2-story building, but it's an old building and don't have no elevator, right? And there come in someone that's in a wheelchair, and we got the ramp, okay? But they said, well, we want access to the second floor. Well, in order for them to get access to the second floor, we got to get an elevator, Well, that wouldn't be reasonable. You understand what I'm saying? That would not be reasonable. That's not discrimination just because they said we want to go on the second floor. Other folks go on the second floor, so y'all need to get an elevator, get some way to get us upstairs. See that, in order for, for us to do that, that'll destroy our hope, that'll destroy our church, that'll own our program because we can't afford it, okay? So they just saying we need to use common sense. Because folks come in with disabilities and they talk a lot of, sometimes they just talk foolishness, okay, just to create problems. But we need to make sure if anything we can accommodate them with, that we can afford, that will be reasonable, we need to make sure we get that done. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Disability access, that basically I just covered that, okay? That's why we got the ramp and everything, okay, so you can have access to the building. Equally effective communication, number 33. Communication with persons with disabilities must be equally communicated as communicating with people without disability, including companions as defined by the ADAA, that's the Alabama Disability Act, okay? Provide appropriate auxiliary aids and service, including qualified interpreters. We've already covered these things. We got a person that can't hear, well, we need to get assigned someone that can speak sign language. Y'all understand what I'm saying? We need to get somebody that can speak sign language for them. I mean, We just need to call the food bank and tell them that we need, because we got a population of people, and some communities got a population of people that can't hear. Okay, a lot of times they're in certain segments because they want to stay together. You understand what I'm saying? They want to stay together. We don't really have that here, but I'm sure that some food programs do. So they need to be provided with people that can speak sign language. Why civil rights training? Why we have this training? Training is required so that individuals involved at all levels of administration of programs that receive federal financial assistance understand federal law, regulation, instruction, policies, and other guidelines. That's why we have this training. So everybody that's volunteering in this program, you know, they know that they don't need to discriminate against people. Okay, you can have that. We equipping y'all with that knowledge. Okay, staff and volunteers must receive training appropriate to their roles and responsibilities. At a minimum, staff should receive training on all aspects of civil rights compliance as described in FNS Instruction 113-1. Compliance reviews, and this means that they can review to see whether or not we had this training. Okay, they can come by and ask y'all questions. They can ask everybody that's volunteer trying to, with us, or whether or not they've had this civil rights training. They might even want to ask you what Title 16 is. Okay, and what are some of the, what's the definition of discrimination? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so y'all need to have that knowledge, and most of it's common knowledge anyway. Okay, examine the activities of state agency, local agency, and sub-recipient, that's us, a sub-recipient, to determine civil right compliance, whether or not we comply with the Civil Rights Act. FNS Civil Rights and Program staff review state agency. State agencies review their local agencies. The state of Alabama review the food bank, and the food bank review us. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Page 36. Compliance review. There are 3 types of review. Pre-award review, I guess before they, decide to let you come be part of the program, okay, they can review you. Routine post-award reviews. Now, we've been in the program a while, they can always come back around, okay, maybe want to ask questions to people that's working with this program. And special reviews, most of the time that's probably going to happen if they hear there's been some discrimination that's going on, they probably want to do a special review, okay? Not just to see whether or not the complaint is legitimate, but to see whether or not we've trained people in our program about civil rights. And when I'm saying civil rights, you can get sued for that. You understand what I'm saying? You can get sued, they can sue our church. You understand what I'm saying? If we discriminate against them. So we need to take this serious, because it's serious business. Resolution of non-compliance. A factual finding that any civil rights requirement is not being adhered to by the state agency, subsist like us agency or a local site. Immediate step must be taken to obtain voluntary compliance. So if they find out we're not complying in a certain area, we need to do whatever we need to do to get it right, to make it right, okay? If we need help, to try to make it right, we need to ask for help to make it right. A findings effective date is the date of the written notice to the review entity. Negotiation with the review entity to ensure compliance. So if someone come to us and they complain about they being discriminated against, we need to do everything we can to try to make that right. Okay? And if we can't make it right, we probably need to call the food bank, get whoever we need down here to make it right. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Oh, we out there to help folks. We out there to hurt folks. Voluntary resolution agreement. A written agreement that the review entity voluntarily enters the FNS to ensure compliance with the federal civil rights law between 2 or more parties, state agency, sub-recipient, complaint, etc. To close out a civil rights review in lieu of issuing a written compliance review report with finding. And that's basically probably going to be, it's not really going to be us, it's probably going to be the food bank, okay? But they probably going to end up doing an investigation, doing a review to finally, determine whether or not if we discriminate against anybody, have corrected it, okay? And these are just contact information. And that's basically it. Any question before we close? Any question? This whole training is really about discrimination, okay? To make sure that we equip with enough knowledge to not discriminate against people based on their color, their national origin, their sex, their age, and their disability. Those areas. Make sure we don't discriminate against anybody, because if we do, then that's a violation of Title 16, that's a violation of federal law. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, folks are always looking for an opportunity to sue. Okay? They're always looking for an opportunity to sue. Now, I know a lot of church, you know, the reason why they ain't loving folks and serving folks because they're afraid of being sued. But I'm just telling you what Jesus said. Jesus said, if they sue you, so you go give them truth.
Yeah.
What he's saying is he's gonna protect you. Okay? So you can't not fulfill the mission of the church because you worried about lawsuits. And that's why a lot of churches are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, because they're more worried about being sued and worried about, you know, serving God and trying to, you know, help folks so that folks can get saved into the kingdom. That concludes our training from the food bank. You can cut that off now. Thank you all so much
You're welcome.
for your all attendance and for your obedience. May the Lord bless you all in a mighty way for making that sacrifice today.
You're
Making
welcome.
that sacrifice today.